The other thing to really be aware of with Apple devices is price. You are going to pay a pretty penny if you get an Apple device, even if you get an older model, which whenever I've gotten Apple devices, except with the exception of my current iPad, which is the iPad Air 2, when I got my first iPhone, it was an iPhone 4. I got it 1 month before the 4S came out, and a lot of my visually impaired friends who are on limited income that are considering an iPhone right now, they're going to go with an older model because of the fact that they're so expensive. But even the older model can be as much as anywhere as little as 4 times more expensive than an Android device, all the way up to about 11 or 12 times as expensive. Now, I did not go with the Note 5, the latest model. I only got my Note 4 a couple of months ago. I upgraded from the Note 2. Reason I didn't go with the Note 5 was because of the cost, and unfortunately, I was laid off a number of months ago, so I decided to go with the cheaper option. So I went with an older model, and I know a lot of my fellow visually impaired blind mice will be doing the same. So, but just to give you a comparison, the Note 4 on a 2-year contract right now, the 100 and, or pardon me, it's a 32 gigabyte Note 4, but it has expandable storage of 128 gigabytes. Add that together, you get 160 gigabytes for $50 Canadian. And if you're elsewhere in the world where your currency is a lot better than ours is right now, you can probably get it for even cheaper than that. Now, by comparison, if you go and get yourself a 2014 iPhone model, which would have been, say, the 6S Plus, or pardon me, the 6 Plus, which has, if you go with the top model of 128 gigabytes, just to sort of do a relative comparison, or a relevant comparison rather, the 128 gigabyte iPhone 6 Plus currently retails as of February 2016 at $560 Canadian plus tax for that model. Now, of course, you can get a model with less storage, but you're going to run out fairly quickly, especially if you love to store your audio, your music on your device, or your audiobooks or ebooks, or even your video games. And yes, for those sighted people watching, they do make visually or video games for visually impaired people. So again, it's something to be aware of. Now, if you're going to store all your stuff in the cloud, then you might not care about your storage so much. But Canadians pay some of the highest prices for their cell phone plans, so you might want to consider getting more storage than not. Most of you could probably get away with a 64 gigabyte iPhone. I'm an audio nerd though, and I have so many songs. Like, I've got over 5,000 songs, and most of them are on my phone. So I chose to go, whenever I get an iOS device, I get the larger one. So, but it's again, something to be aware of is the price. Android is a lot cheaper, and because Android has come a long way, you're still getting a lot for much, much less money. So that is something to bear in mind. Now, with that being said, I'm going to move on over to my Note 4. Well, I will tell you some of the things that I like about Android so you can make a comparison. There are some downsides to Android. Oh, no, actually, I lied. There was one more thing I want to show you on my iPad. When you're in iBooks and you've got voiceover on, I won't turn voiceover on again because it will make all of us deaf when we listen to this video back. But when you've got voiceover on, it will read you the whole page, and then it gets to the end and it stops rather than automatically continuing to the next page. So you're tied to your phone having to swipe to the next page. Now, if you're sitting down, relaxing, listening to your ebook, that's not so bad. But if you want to putter out about the house and multitask, it's kind of annoying. So is it a deal breaker? No, absolutely not. Now, of course, you can also go with an audiobook, which many, many visually impaired people do. But the one thing, or the one downside to audiobooks, is the selection is not as robust as it is for ebooks. So something to be aware of. Is it a deal breaker? No, but again, it's something just to keep in mind when you're comparing platforms. So that being said, I will now move on to what my Note 4, where I'll tell you a bit more about Android, what I like, and a few of the things that are a bit of a challenge. And one thing just to keep in mind real quick about Android is unlike Apple, where you're just limited to Apple and you're pretty much guaranteed to pay a high price unless you're buying a model several generations back, with Android, Google makes the software and then they allow other companies to load their software on their operating system on their phone rather. So you have a lot more choice when it comes to manufacturers. And what that does is it really opens up the playing field price-wise. So you can have low-budget Android phones. You can also have high budget, and you also have the mid-range. As someone with a visual impairment, you want to have a device that is fairly decent so it can handle the accessibility software and whatnot. I would suggest staying away from the low-budget phones and sticking with the mid-range. If you have a bit of extra cash to spare, you can find a good deal, then definitely consider the higher budget, like the Samsung devices and whatnot. When I got my first Note 2 back in 2012, I paid $0 on a 2-year contract. That's Canadian, but zero is zero no matter what currency you're in. And then with my Note 4, I paid about $140 for it, but now it's come down even more in price, and you can get it, like I said, for $50 on a 2-year contract. So shop around for your Android device if you're going to go that route. And without further ado, we'll now move on to my Note 4. Okay, so this ended up being a crazy in-depth comparison, even longer than I even thought possible. So rather than splitting up into just 2, I'm going to actually split it up into 6 sections. So part 1 is going to be part 1 ABC, part 2 will be part 2 ABC. So if you've listened this far, first of all, thank you very much for sticking around. Number 2, give yourself a freaking medal. And number 3, if you're on a desktop, click your screen in the middle there. It'll take you to the next part. If you're on a mobile phone, just go down to the description. I'll put the link below. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. Here at Circle of the Blind Mice, I bring you these videos because I believe technology enriches the lives of those of us with visual impairments. My mission is to help you learn tech, use tech, and embrace tech. Please like and share this video to help spread the word to your fellow blind mice. And if you're new here, please subscribe for new videos every Wednesday. Thanks for watching.